come on the Zoom.
Hi.
Hi everyone, we'll get started in like 3 or 4 minutes once we have more of our usual crowd. Thank you all for calling in. We'll get started in just about a minute. I see almost all of our full regular suspects, usual suspects, even more so, signing on. Okay. Hey everybody, in the interest of time, I will get us going because we have, as usual, lots to talk about. I did build that agenda just with our standard agenda, and I don't know if we have everybody calling in to give updates, so we'll move things around as needed or offer more time in places if there's not enough time. So to anybody new to the call, if you want to have agenda access, actually, if anybody has an easy way to pop that into the chat, that would be super helpful for anybody not on the email list. And if you want to be added to the email list to get the agenda ahead of time, we'll put the email into the chat, but it's ilavistacommunitynetwork@gmail.com. My name is Melissa. I'm one of the co-facilitators of Ivcn. I also am the GM of the Ivy Food Co-op, amongst a few other things that I do out in the community and working with UCSB administrative things. We like to start our meeting with a land acknowledgement. Even though we're not meeting in person, we are definitely still meeting in traditional lands. And so we like to start with a land acknowledgement. We use one from the Honoring Native Lands Guide from the U.S. Department of Cultural Affairs. I'm always happy to share that resource if anybody wants it. So we would like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Chumash people and pay our respects to elders both past and present. We honor the traditional territory as well as the story and contributions of the Chumash peoples to the land upon which we gather and create. I also just want to say for the record, with everything still happening in the country, lots of unrest, including in cities where I have people near and dear to me, Black Lives Matter. Just whatever else is happening, I just want to say, I want to open the meeting with it. Black Lives Matter every day, all day, past, present, and future. And as we keep navigating these big conversations in our community, we do keep this on our agenda as a topic of update. So if you're working with an entity or an org and you want to offer an update directly in conjunction with some of the progress that's been happening in the community or more progress to be made, please do email. This is a topic that should be on every agenda. 100% Black Lives Matter. Thank you. And from that, we'll jump into introductions and announcements around the room. I usually just go down the chat list. Oh, thank you for whoever put the agenda in. And so let's start introductions with Jonathan at the top of the list.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jonathan. I'm with the Ivy Community Service District.
Thanks, Jonathan. And how about Jeff from the county?
Yeah, this is Jefferson Litton with Supervisor Hartman's office. Supervisor Hartman is going to try to hop in a little bit later. She's also in the cause Zoom, which is running concurrently, so she's trying to do both.
Cool. Thanks for calling in. About Gary.
Gary Gaston, UCPD. Thanks, Melissa, for the acknowledgments, both of them. And hello, everyone.
Hi, thanks for calling in. How about Ash?
Hello, I'm Ash. I'm in EcoVista, Food Not Bombs, and other things. And I have a quick request on the agenda to talk about Cannabis Forum and if we want to help plan it. Thanks.
Yeah, that's actually why Jeff is on the call today. So that is the topic, the main topic for the county update. So thanks for bringing it up. It is what we are planning to talk about. Agenda aligning. Love that. Okay, how about George?
Hi, everyone. George Thurlow from the Chancellor's Office. Thank you.
Thanks, George. And Camille?
Hi, everyone. My name is Camille. I'm from UCSB's Department of Health and Wellness. I'm just kind of going to be here to absorb the information. And then, of course, we do try to act as like a liaison between the community and the students. So just kind of might touch base with some of you if I have any questions later on.
Awesome. Thanks for calling in, Camille. That's great. That is definitely one of the great purposes of Ivcn, and it's been really fun to see more people jumping in for that reason. So thank you for repping health and wellness on the call. How about Deborah?
Sorry, I was typing away. Hi, everybody. My name is Deborah Anderson. I'm the Assistant General Manager at the Isla Vista Community Services District. Good to be with you.
Thanks, Deborah. And Diana?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Diana Puente. I'm the Interim Director for Community Affairs, Student Development, and Leadership for Associated Students.
Thanks, Diana. And Elijah?
Hey everyone, Elijah Ettinger here, Community Engagement with Cookies Cannabis.
Awesome, thanks Elijah. And how about Gina?
Hi, I'm Gina. I'm an organizer for Food Not Bombs.
Thanks, Gina. And somebody from IVRPD, of who I'm not sure, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, this is Luis, Recreation Coordinator for the Isla Vista Rec and Park District.
Hey, Luis. Thanks, Luis. This is Kimberly. Hi, everybody.
Good. You have you both. That's nice. Thanks for calling in, you guys. How about Rodney?
Rodney Gould. I'm the Isla Vista Community Advisor for the Associated Students.
Awesome. And how about Jay?
Jay Freeman, on the board of the Isla Vista Community Service District, but only here representing myself today, not on behalf of the board.
Great. And Katerina?
Hello, Katerina Zamora from the Alcohol and Drug Program, Behavioral Wellness, County of Santa Barbara. No announcements. You look great, Melissa.
You're sweet. Thanks for calling in. I unmasked for introductions. How about Aaron?
Good afternoon, everyone. Aaron Jones. I'm the Director of the Educational Opportunity Program and also Interim Director of the Multicultural Center. No announcements.
Thank you for calling in. How about Jeremy?
Jeremy Rourke, psychologist, Food Not Bombs volunteer, and food co-op board member, not representing, rather than myself.
Awesome, thank you. And how about Joan?
Joan Hartman, 3rd District County Supervisor, doing two things at once.
Thanks for calling in, Joan. And Julia?
Hi, Julia, they, them pronouns. I'm a member of Food Not Bombs and Bonfire Collective.
Thanks for calling in. How about Kirsten?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Kirsten Deschler, Director of Government Relations at UC Santa Barbara.
Lisa Osborne.
Hi, I'm Lisa Osborne with KCSB News, 91.9 FM.
Awesome. And Lisa Oglesby.
Hi, Lisa Oglesby, President, Isla Vista Food Co-op Board of Directors.
Yay. Oh my God, sorry, it keeps repopulating. How about Omari?
Hello, everyone. Omari Pryor, UCSB Alcohol and Drug Program.
Great. And Viviana?
Hi, Viviana Marzano with Isla Vista Liaison. Jonathan and I had a meeting today with the County Complete Count Committee about the census, and there are a couple of new developments. There is a judge who has presented an injunction against the Census Bureau, which is going to have a hearing on September 17th. And the two things they are requesting is that the Census Bureau stops declining their campaign, door to door, and also that they go back to extend the census response to October 31st. So this is really interesting. On another less happy note, we have mentioned that Isla Vista is not doing great in our response. This morning, it was 54%. In 2010, we had 65%, I think, response to the census. We found out today that our group quarters, which is all the students living in UCSB housing and the Greek houses, are not included in these percentages. So that could be a little bit more hopeful. I don't know how much, but given that, I'm going to send Melissa an announcement today in Spanish and English so that you can forward it to the Ivcn and we can actually increase the push. We barely have 3 more weeks for that. And remember that if a low answer is less funding for Isla Vista. And last one thing, they are having something called the mobile MQA, Mobile Questionnaire Assistance. So they are offering to bring it to UCSB. Jonathan and I were reluctant at the beginning because we are not having gatherings, but this would be something as simple as having a table and 2 people in a corner in IV and assisting people with the questionnaire. They are going to keep all the guidelines for distancing and things like that. So far, Jonathan and I thought maybe the corner of Pardal and Embarcadero outside Starbucks could be good. But if any of you has a better idea, why don't you put it in the chat? So we have to request that pretty soon. They don't want big gatherings, so we don't want to make a very public announcement, but please, if you have any ideas, send them to me and we'll make it work.
Anything that you send to me, I'll happily send out and also post in the Facebook group where I'm actually posting the meeting reminder now because I keep forgetting to post in that group, and that does get a lot of visibility. And so I commit to being better at using the group. So send me things and I will share it out that way too.
Yeah, and you know, Jonathan and I have been coordinating paid ads in Facebook, Instagram. Last week we hired a publicist who is working with the census, and we are going to Spanish-speaking radios, you know, TVs, not the regular social media channels, but we need to do the most we can.
The co-op is still happy to be a place, you know, we have the sign out and we've been sharing a little bit on our story from the US Census, and that might be a strategy also for more groups to share across their Insta stories because there is a census Instagram page, and so it might be a useful touch point for a reminder.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Vivi. A few more introductions. Devin, do you want to introduce? I saw you call in.
Hi, everybody. My name is Devin Wardlow. I'm the Director of Public Affairs at Coastal Dispensary. We are working and going through the process with the county for the Isla Vista cannabis retail license. Thank you all so much, and I look forward to talking with you all later.
Thanks, Devin. And also Yasmin.
Hi, everyone. Yasmin from Associated Students, Ivcn.
And also we are recording this meeting via YouTube, so it's the YouTube live person that you see. And did I miss anybody in all of that repopulating of the list, or did everybody get to introduce?
Hi, everyone. It's Kim Aquino from the Dean of Students Office on campus. Good to see you all.
Sorry about that. It's like the fastest moving list I've ever seen. Awesome. Okay. Are there any other intros or any announcements that need to be talked in before we get cranking? Rolling? Awesome. So without further ado, we'll jump into the 3rd district report. I guess take it away, Jeff or Joan, or however you guys want to roll.
So I can go ahead and start, and then I think I'll start with what we've listed about here about the community discussion about the cannabis dispensary. So Joan's had a number of conversations. I've had a number of conversations regarding the cannabis retail forum that took place on August 18th via Zoom about Isla Vista. And some of the feedback that we've heard is that there wasn't necessarily the opportunity for the community to discuss, how they thought a dispensary might best fit with Isla Vista community, and then also a discussion about community benefit as it's described in the community involvement plan that any applicant might be submitting. So kind of out of those conversations, suggestions have come that we should probably do another meeting about this. And I think Ivcn is a fantastic forum for such meetings. And so some of the discussions that have taken place is that it would be a listening session where community members could come and say, you know, their concerns or their visions for how a dispensary might best fit with the community. And then to also to discuss needs in Isla Vista and what community benefit means to them. So it's really an opportunity for community members to come forth, share their thoughts, and then I think all the applicants probably be in their best interest to listen to the community about what they wanted to hear. And then we could ensure that county staff was there to listen as well. And if we need further explanation of the process, the application process, that would be great. And so I think that's kind of the vision. In terms of timing, it would probably need to happen shortly, like 2 weeks could be a good time for it to happen. But I think this is really an excellent forum for it. I want to thank Gina, Jess, and Melissa for their conversations and their ideas and being open to this. So yeah, I think I'll just kind of leave it there.
Just for everybody's knowledge, one thing we have been discussing as a potential is to add a regular Ivcn meeting for next week if there's updates that groups want to give, and then in what would have been our regular biweekly meeting in 2 weeks, turn that into a slightly longer meeting, so from 12 to 1:30, and make that the community discussion opportunity. And so I wanted to float that by the network and see how that felt. We don't have to add a meeting next week if there's not more updates, but I wasn't sure how this meeting would go and if we wanted to leave that as a possible. Does that feel like a useful opportunity for this group to kind of have it baked into our regular schedule? You can give a thumbs up, or if you have thoughts or questions, you can. That is what we're here to talk about today. So, good feels. Does anybody have a concern about holding this meeting during an Ivcn time?
I just had a thought that maybe it could be in an evening instead, just so that people who work during the day might be able to attend. I know this meeting works well for folks who, like, it's kind of like they work in Isla Vista, and like maybe part of your job would be attending like this type of meeting in community outreach, but for people who work during the day, having it at night might make it more accessible, or if students have class during the day.
This is Joan speaking. It's ultimately up to the community, but what's tricky is if we try to create something new and get enough attendance, it often for this kind of thing works well to use existing infrastructure and existing habit patterns so that we can build off them rather than trying to create something new and get the information out.
I'm wondering if there might be a strategy where we can hold the meeting during this time, but then somehow share either a meeting recording that then offers maybe even like an input path. So if someone can't attend, they can at least hear what was talked about, and then maybe the county just put some questions together that people can just add to on their own, but after hearing sort of what was talked about, so it's not just people without any context trying to include their thoughts. Maybe that could be a pathway. But yeah, because that's always a challenge. I know we did a lot of work. I was on the board for the Food Action Planning Committee, the advisory board, and so one of the big challenges of the working group meetings was making sure it was really inclusive for everybody's ability of like when they're working, if they have childcare, if they're able to loop in during the day or at night. And it was a tricky part of getting a shared perspective, and so it really did require some targeted outreach also that we did. And so, you know, maybe Gina, also if you know specific folks that you know that wouldn't be able to attend, that we sort of create that opportunity where there's some direct communication so that voices can be heard that might already be known to not be heard. Sorry, it was redundant.
Yeah, and people could always submit their questions in advance to somebody who comes to the meetings regularly.
Yeah, I think those are all good ideas. There's also a formal survey about neighborhood and benefit compatibility that is on the county's cannabis site. And I can post that in the chat right now. So, and we can ask county staff if we can bring some of those results to the meeting as well.
I'd like
I'm sorry.
I'd like to echo what Gina was saying about times and just thinking in general, like having multiple times for people, whatever the reason for maybe not being able to make it at one time, they might make it at the other. And I'm also wondering if an hour and a half would really be enough time to get comments from the whole community.
I think that it's a little probably iterative because we haven't exactly done a process like this before. And maybe if there's a willingness, like it's really up to, I don't know, and I could report back to the group and talk to Jeff offline about this. Like if we wanted to host just a second evening meeting, if we'd be able to have county participation, or if we could kind of track data from that meeting and share it outward if that feels useful. At the end of the day, it's not really a county meeting at all. It's a community discussion that the county is helping us kind of structure in the most useful way, including taking into consideration like county council and like the legal aspects and things that like can and can't be useful or will and won't be useful. So if there's that interest, and maybe somebody from the county has a thought about how we could, like if we wanted to host a second meeting. I see Joan talking.
Oh, Melissa, thank you so much for framing it up this way. We have a very narrow line we have to walk related to cannabis retail, and I think you stated it very well. It was the IV community and specifically the network that wanted this process for retail cannabis, that there be a discussion of community benefit and some other more qualitative evaluation factors. So we've got that, but when it's qualitative, there can be more challenges. So this is something that the community has to do. My hope is that we come up with a list and that people have a conversation and that we can listen and that the county people will be on listening and that the prospective candidates for retail licenses will be on listening, but it has to be a community process. We can't run it. My office can't run it. So, but we're very supportive that it take place. I hope that is enough of a context.
Does it feel productive if we consider a second evening meeting that is community run, but that utilizes a framework that can harness information that would be relevant to give back to the county? Does that feel possible?
Absolutely. I think the more community driven, the better. And what the important factor is that somehow there be a link so that the information that the community generates, there may be wide agreement, there may be lots of different ideas and nobody agrees. That's really all important information, but somehow it has to get back to the county. So our office can help be that bridge, but as Jefferson mentioned, there's also the information sheet on the cannabis website.
Okay. So does it feel useful to this group to plan for the 9/24 meeting to happen in our chunk of allocated Ivcn meeting time, maybe punting for an hour and a half? And then if there's interest, and maybe it's something that I can talk to Gina or Jess or any other like community members about, to then also plan maybe the same day to make it easier, an evening meeting that we could like record it and share that with the county or capture data in a way that could then be passed forward. Does that feel like a useful way to capture more interest from people?
One thing to note is that the evening of August 24th is an Isla Vista Recreation and Park District meeting.
Okay.
All of that matters, but
you can do it the next night. I mean, it could be a flexible time. It's more like if that process sounds more complete for what Gina and Jeremy have both brought up. Okay. Maybe what I'll do.
I think so.
Sorry. Go for it, Jeremy.
Sorry,
No, go for
I was
it.
trying to get off mute. Sorry. I think that's a great idea.
Okay. Thank you. So after this meeting, I'll maybe if you're interested in participating as an organizer of this second community meeting, either put your name in the chat or just email my co-op email or the Ivcn email, and I'll recreate a little subgroup and we can plan something. Does that sound useful to everybody? Okay. In the hands of the community, the way Isla Vista loves things to be. All right, awesome. Thank you, Joan and Jeff, for giving us some context. Are there any more questions specific to cannabis before we ask for other updates? Okay. My high school self is really proud of this step in my career to help, create this cannabis context for our community. My father's going to be thrilled. So thank you for the opportunity. How about any other updates from the 3rd District? Since we have Joan on, we have Jeff on. I don't know if we have other 3rd District folks on today.
So one correction, Jefferson goes by Jefferson.
Jefferson, thank you for letting me know. I appreciate that.
I wanted Jefferson, who's been very involved in community choice energy, just to give a very brief update. I'm an alternate on the regional board, and there's some new developments. So because moving towards renewable energy economy is absolutely critical, I just wanted to bring you up to date on that.
Yeah, so many of you likely know that Santa Barbara County, as well as a number of cities in Santa Barbara County, I think every city except for Santa Barbara, which is creating its own community choice energy program, last year joined Monterey Bay Community Power, which is a community choice energy program consisting of cities and counties in Santa Cruz, Monterey, Santa Barbara County, and then San Benito County as well. But basically, community choice energy, this agency procures energy on behalf of our residents, and it is aiming towards an energy mix that is far cleaner and greener and carbon free than our current energy mix from the utilities. So this last week we have our new name, which is Central Coast Community Energy. And we have a new plan that will get us to 100% renewable electricity, real renewable electricity by 2030. So more aggressive than the utilities, as well as a component for local programs to promote building those renewables here locally. So it's exciting, and I'm happy to talk with anybody offline a little bit more about that, because it's a long, very complicated conversation. So, and then I think probably the rest of our updates would fit in with other agenda items that we have listed, Melissa.
Okay. So. Are there any short questions for Jefferson about what he just mentioned?
Where's the best place to read more about it?
I'll post the website for Central Coast Community Energy in the chat.
Sorry, there's a garbage truck behind me. Okay, well, in the interest of time, why don't we move on ahead into the agenda out of 3rd District and into COVID-19 messaging and efforts updates. I put on here Houseless Community Working Group updates. I'm not sure if we have any of those, but I see there's folks here that might have things to talk about. And then also from the Beloved community, because I know there's been some progress, but of course this is an open time to kind of discuss widely. So do we have any updates from the Houseless Community Working Group?
Not currently. The next meeting is still pending.
This is Joan. I'll just jump in. We're still trying to address this. Jefferson, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so I think right now, I think we're moving towards continuing to have that meeting on Friday. And I think for this meeting, Lucille will still be, as far as I understand, Lucille will still be facilitating this upcoming meeting as well. But definitely all this work will continue, and I think the county will continue to be devoting resources to the working group.
There's no question that the county will continue to devote resources. So we want to, that's the point we want to drive home right now.
Can the county offer any explanation as to why Lucille wouldn't be facilitating future meetings?
So, I think we have a lot of confidence in Lucille as a facilitator. I think it was a question of it was sort of an internal question in the housing department about facilitation and just kind of the role of the entire group and how decisions are being made in the entire group. But I think everybody's
and if
really.
I might add, what's the role of the county vis-a-vis the role of the community and not being overly directive and top down from the county? I think that's it. We're still trying to sort it all out.
Yeah, I think Joan hit the nail on the head there.
I think one of the concerns, though, on the side of the quote community unquote, is that who exactly is supposed to be stepping up to run it? I mean, it's like one of the comments that I've made before, particularly a long time ago, is this idea that we elect government in order to have government help run these sorts of meetings and to figure out how to best coordinate the community response. And so then you look at the groups in Isla Vista, and it's like the CSD doesn't actually have a power related to this. So it's not like the CSD, and this is me speaking, I'm not representing the CSD here, but the CSD doesn't seem to be in a position to actually step up and run the meeting in some sense. And so is it a random community member whose job is supposed to be to do what I would argue is maybe filling in for what should be a government function? Like it just seemed really disappointing to me that it was kind of like this exodus out of the providing that kind of support structure for this seemingly important topic.
Jay, let me take this because I agree with you completely. And I think the role of government is to help facilitate these processes. And we are going to continue in some fashion. The question is, do we need some support perhaps from United Way or some others? Is now the time to start bringing them in? But what you've stated is absolutely correct from my perspective, and the county isn't backing away.
Hey, Joan, this is Spencer. I just wanted to say thanks for really bringing that to bear. We really appreciate it. I've gotten, I had some conversations recently with people in the community about the situation in our parks, and someone made the comment to me that they didn't think that anyone cared. And I pushed back hard and said, there's a lot of people that really care. People like Lucille are doing just such an excellent job trying to make sure that we get our neighbors housed and that we keep them safe and healthy. And so we really appreciate you and your advocacy to get her into that role and to support the work that's coming out of there.
Thank you. Yes, I think a great deal of Lucille, and I think she's trusted by the community, and so we just have to define her role in a way that makes her supervisors happy. And I'm confident we can do that. I'm confident that we're gonna, I'm really pleased with there's been tangible results, steps along the way, deliverables that this group has produced. And so I'm very encouraged by that. And I think we're working towards something that would be ambitious. The real key is we need to identify people who can actually provide services. We need more people in the nonprofit community who can help. And we're in the process of trying to do that. But that more even than locations is a limiting factor. So more to come, but this is high priority for all of us.
Does it feel supportive of this conversation? Because I think there are some people more involved in this group and these conversations than others. If we try to create a more robust agenda item to get a more full update, or to keep Ivcn more holistically looped in on what's happening, or is this feeling okay for everybody to have these types of updates in our meeting? I'm not on the working group, so I don't have a lot of like wider knowledge, and so it's hard to know. If you don't know what you don't know, it's hard to figure out how to like contextualize it in a meeting like this. So I want to make sure we're on the right path with how we're talking about it and approaching this very large topic in very short periods of time.
I think it's great, but I also wanted to respond to well, just ask a general question maybe for Joan or others at the county. I don't know if Lucille is on this call, but I'm wondering about the possibility on the committee of opening up a spot for a member of the houseless community, and if that would be a possibility.
I think that's an excellent idea. And can you identify good prospects? Who?
Yeah,
I mean, that would.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
We'll figure out how we coordinate on this. But I've got.
Yes, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, so in the interest of time, it might be good to move along, but I do think this will always be on our agenda. It's a very important topic, and obviously there's really big work happening, and it might be useful as the working group sort of lands its structure and everything gets kind of more grounded in what's happening. We'll just invite in somebody, maybe more intentionally, to offer a larger update at some point in the next month, maybe, as things sort of start to become a little less like what's happening. Does that sound good? Okay, we'll plan for that. That feels really valid and important, especially with, you know, moving about to happen and things like shifting in IV so rapidly again, a little bit unknown. So actually that's a good segue unintentionally into the beloved community group. I stuck that on because that group has been actively meeting around COVID messaging. So we have a little bit of time. I kind of smushed the agenda now, so take it away, beloved community, and we can keep moving through.
Deanna, you mind taking that?
Oh, sure, Rodney. So good afternoon, everyone. I think we mentioned, of course, in previous Ivcn meetings that the beloved community has been working kind of for months now on various messaging around COVID-19. And so happy to just give you a brief update on kind of the round 2 messaging that we're doing. In the first round, we have been working, of course, with folks to distribute both messaging as well as masks throughout IV, and have had some great partners in the community. In this next phase, we've been expanding that to working with about a dozen local businesses and organizations to get more masks to the local businesses. And we're also going into round 2 of just the messaging and really looking at, you know, in conversations with health and wellness and other partners, really looking at the harm reduction strategy as part of the narrative of the conversations that we want to be having in the community. So really supporting students and other residents in IV to think about the conversations that they want to be having with each other, that they want to be having in these different spaces. And so that's going to be the direction that we're shifting in terms of round 2. We're also going to be having a van, or at least that's in the works, a van that's going to be driving around in routes around the IV, just doing some of the same social media messaging with the great posters that we've developed, handing out information, and hopefully doing some kind of a raffle process so that we are supporting and highlighting all the great behavior that's happening in IV, all the folks that are wearing their masks, really looking at ways to engage the community and have some level of physical presence. So as you know, in the past, we've had the UCIV program deployed throughout IV. That's not something that we're considering at all at this point, because we don't want to have our students or volunteers or staff exposed in that way. So feeling like the van hopefully can provide a more regulated space in which we can have a physical presence throughout IV. And then we're also working on some of the online things. So one of the things that we are thinking about is just some of the kind of viral online ways that we can engage folks. Maybe it's creating videos or creating kind of masks, mask contests for the creation of masks, a variety of those kinds of things that we're looking at right now. And really also looking at the importance of thinking about our work, both in terms of the work with individuals, the work with groups, and then the work within the broader community. And so seeing how we can support what those conversations are at different levels. Yasmin, I think, will speak more to it in her report about other efforts within AS, but those collaborations within campus and in the community continue. And we're, of course, recognizing that there's so many different messaging efforts, but trying to figure out what's our audience and kind of what's our lane. So really what Beloved Community has been doing is really kind of a peer-to-peer, not just student to student, but community to community kind of engagement. I think I'll leave it at that, unless anybody else from the Beloved Community group wants to chime in. We've got a lot of folks present here.
I think that was a really great succinct overview, Deanna. Thank you for speaking for all of us. Yeah.
Thank you, Lisa.
Any other questions or ideas to pop in around messaging, thoughts? It's been fun to watch the shifting of the messaging, and I think it's a testament to how incredible Isla Vista as a community can change and evolve with these changing needs. Obviously, things here move really quickly, and it takes time to get people on the same page for things like shared messaging and watching the progress of Beloved Community, but also the other parts of UCSB that have been, and also CSD and the county that have been taking a big role in like pivoting messaging to make it relevant feels really exciting. And I think there's, sorry, I'm looking at a chat. Yeah, best mask contest idea. I mean, that kind of stuff, like leaning into mask wearing and making it more fun. That's kind of stuff we're talking about at the co-op. Also, like dance on with your mask on, like making it fun to still try to play by some rules. And I think that there'll be more opportunities for more engagement as the school year kicks off and we see a little more of what we're contending with, because I think a lot of us are kind of like in a waiting mode of like, what's this actually going to be like? And it's hard to not live it yet. So yeah, and I think Gary might have been trying to talk also.
Oh, I did. Thank you, Melissa. I just wanted to say also, just in a partnership with Beloved Community, which I've really enjoyed being in that group. We're doing a desk, or I should say a few tables and display out at Del Norte, Embarcadero Del Norte and Pardal, where we're handing out free PPE, also information that assists students and others in the community on mental health resources during the pandemic. As you know, the burden can get a little heavy, especially if you're living a quarantine lifestyle and such. But we're handing out free masks and hand sanitizer and stuff. Also, just trying to have a presence in flattening the curve and building awareness with a lot of our students and then others in the community as well. And we've been able to use some of Beloved Community's artwork and stuff because we want the message to also be positive, because it's, you know, it's a hard time for everyone. I think what's been echoed through Beloved Community is that it's hard to tell people all the time over and over again a negative messaging of, you know, you can't go outside, you can't do this, you can't do that. So trying to infuse what we're doing already with a note of positivity, and Beloved Community's been able to help us with that. And I think it's been a pretty well-received campaign. We're out at about 800 masks right now that we've given to the community in the last 3 weeks of being out here in the corner. So I just want to say thanks again to Beloved Community for that.
Thank you, Gary, for that.
Hey, I just want to echo the thanks. It's really cool to hear everything that you're working on. That with the van going around sounds really fun. And I think I echo your comments, Gary. And really glad to hear them coming from someone in law enforcement, especially just because I think that it helps to humanize you guys and, when you're out there doing sort of that non-enforcement activity. So really glad to hear that. I'll just add that we all have different roles to play. And I know one of the things that I've really been trying to do over the past couple of weeks, as I've been getting more and more requests from residents for how they can report their neighbors if their neighbors are not following social distancing protocols, is directing people to the links where they can report violations of the health officer order. So I'm just going to put that in the chat for everyone to share. That's the county's link where you can report a gathering, and it asks you to take a photo of what's going on. You don't have to even put down your name. You can make an anonymous report. And so definitely would encourage people to make that a part of their messaging too when it's appropriate, because I think that the community really is hungry for some level of accountability because the vast majority of people are doing the right thing and they've been getting the messaging and it's worked. But we've got a small minority of people that it's just not working for. And so just wanted to add those, and thanks everyone for continuing to make this messaging heard.
I wanted to just,
yeah, go for it.
Just a final note. I know that some folks have asked about the work of the Beloved community, and certainly happy to talk a little bit more about it at the next meeting if you'd like. But if anyone does want to sit in on one of the meetings or learn more about it, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or to Rodney directly. We are very kind of loosely formed, and we're trying to figure out more about our formation. But of course, right now we're just trying to be quick about responding to what's in front of us. Just so you know, normally, Beloved community, our focus is around equity, inclusion, and justice, working on Dr. King's vision of the Beloved community. And in this context, it really is about the narrative of how do we do our work as a Beloved community and finding creative community-focused solutions for doing that. So we'd love to talk to you more about it if you're interested.
Thanks, everyone. Somehow it's 12:51, which is our favorite thing to do, like run out of time in these meetings. So I want to move it to the AS update, and then we can try to squeeze in our law enforcement and anything else in those last few minutes. Does that sound okay? A little fast? Okay, Yasmin, go for it.
Hi everyone. As for my update, we're continuing our mask and thermometer distribution, and we've expanded to 9 local businesses for our mask distribution. We're also getting ready for the new students that are coming in and packaging thermometers just for them. We have about 5,000 just to be distributed in the res halls. The execs and I are writing a letter to the county board of supervisors in favor of using public health officers to enforce the public health order in IV. And that should be done by the end of the week, hopefully. My office also started a census campaign to get more students to fill out the census and also tell their friends to fill it out and how important it is for our community. And lastly, we're starting to plan for Halloween. We're trying to think of like a virtual or a safe way of hosting Haunt the Loop, and also trying to encourage students to socialize safely that weekend, especially because Halloween falls on a Saturday and program board is doing concerts that Friday and Saturday, but they're both virtual. That's it for an update.
Thanks for those updates, Yasmin. One thing that we're going to do in Goleta, we read an update from LA County about Halloween. So we're going to make treat bags for our trick-or-treaters, and we're going to set up our front yard really amazing for drive-by Halloween. And so that was one of the rules that LA County actually gave, which is that we can hand individual bags of like sanitized treats out. And so that might be a strategy for Haunt the Loop, that a business could do bags, and that there's a person, maybe AS helps support with some volunteers. I know that's happened in the past, to actually help just hand the bags out or like be responsible. If they put the bag and the child could come and grab it from a distance. So that's just something we're ruminating in Goleta right now to keep Halloween fun. Any questions for Yasmin about any of the AS updates? And we have thermometers at the co-op also, if anybody wants a thermometer with a little alcohol wipe in there too.
This is Joan. Could I say one thing in response? That I think it's really important that we have every alternative to law enforcement to working through educating and ultimately, if we have to enforce the health orders, but public health personnel are so busy with tracking and tracing and the public health aspect of it that they may not be the ones to be in the community, and who that will be, we're really trying to figure out. So I think the point, I hear you. I think most people agree with you that we don't want law enforcement, but public health may not be the ones, again, because they are so busy now with the actual public health delivery.
Is that a thing that UCIV, like the peer-to-peer enforcement? I know, no, not UCIV. I was thinking like if there's a strategy for student support, but.
We decided against using UCIV because it's very like volunteers based, and we didn't really want to ask students to do that. And I don't really think UCIV would have the authority to give people like citations when that's like what we're asking. But yeah, I definitely like see that public health officers are busy right now, and the point of the letter is definitely just to advocate for an alternative to using law enforcement.
Got it.
Well, speaking of law enforcement, what a great segue into our law enforcement update. It sounds like this also is something, it's an important nugget that I think a lot of us were talking about how to keep people accountable for these actions. And so it feels like an important follow-up that will keep happening in these meetings. Again, also as we see how it lands in IV, maybe it'll be great. Maybe everybody will want to have a really awesome mask and just wear it. I don't know. In any case, moving on to law enforcement, we have about 5 minutes left, and those that want to stay on after, well, I'm happy to stay on for a few minutes to finish off any after updates. Take it away, law enforcement.
I might be the only. Perfect.
Whoop, whoop. We got you both at once.
Oh, Gary, I was saying, I have something small, but if you have anything, you go first.
No, nothing really to report. We're just ongoing. I apologize for the background. We have an ongoing projects that we're doing out in the community just to kind of connect with the kids who are stuck at home via Zoom and doing school and stuff, trying to get exercise and give them some diversity in their day-to-day schedules by doing cycling with police. We've also got one coming up where it's going to be kind of a town hall where they get to ask any of the questions they want. I think it's a good idea to start building rapport with kids so that they can feel comfortable even asking us hard questions at a young age to kind of prosper that. We've redone our website, and that should be coming online pretty soon with kind of new graphics and some new options added to it. We are looking at having our CSO program tentatively resume sometime late in September, which we're glad to see that return. Hopefully we can make the mark on that. And I believe that's it. You can go ahead and take it away, Ariel.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, it's everything Gary said, especially with the CSOs. That's a day-to-day thing that's we're having to deal with because of COVID precautions. So that one is definitely not something that's set in stone yet, but we definitely miss them, and we're hoping to get the CSOs back as soon as we can. The only thing I had today was in the last few weeks, we have got posed with the question in several different settings of who does the community outreach team conduct outreach to? And how do we decide who we collaborate with and who we do projects with? And kind of the underlying question under that question was basically like, are you guys only doing outreach to people that like police officers or people that are comfortable with you? What are you doing outreach to groups that have been historically disenfranchised? And so we were brainstorming solutions for that. Obviously, I would hope would go without saying, we are open and willing to do outreach or collaborate with any group on this call, any group in the community that we are unaware of, any group that has historically not felt heard by law enforcement, not felt safe around law enforcement. That's literally what our team is tasked with, is doing outreach to those groups. So we're looking at some UCSB channels for advertising, just to say, hey, here we are here and open to everyone. We're not just working with pro law enforcement groups or people that feel comfortable with us. We're okay with being asked hard questions. But really, I just wanted to say, anybody on this call, if you are interested in asking us questions about what's going on in the national narrative of policing or the local issues surrounding policing, or you want to do a safety training, if you want to do hostile intruder training or active shooter training, or if you want to do Isla Vista safety training or any type of training, we are open for all of you all to utilize. We're a free service, and we do not discriminate between one group or another and who we work with. So I hope you all that know me, that know Gary, that know Tori, and have known us for a while, that we really mean that. We will collaborate with anyone, and we look forward to hearing from you all. But as the students come back, we're going to be looking for ways to get that message out to everyone, so everyone feels like we are their resource, and we're not just a resource for a special group of people.
Ariel, thanks for that update. With the new website, is that going to include like what your outreach programs are and like a consolidated list of what we can ask of you guys? Because maybe that's part of the opportunity, is like people not knowing an easy way of like what is available to bring you in for.
Yeah, so this will be my second time being involved with a website overhaul. And if you've ever done that, it is a gigantic pain in the butt. And so that's another one where we thought it would have been released already, but there's all these little technical difficulties that come up, and people who are a lot smarter than me have been tasked with trying to fix some of the glitches. And so what we're doing is we are adding additional pages to our current website that covers some of that. So if you go on our website, there's now a community relations, community outreach tab that you can click on, and I'll put a link to it in the group chat that kind of details some of the things we do. But the new website will also have that and it will be fleshed out even more. But we were aware of some of the deficiencies in the current website, so we're adding to our old website while also trying to get our new one launched. But yeah, no, it's a great suggestion and a great question. We'll make sure that that page is fleshed out when the new website's released.
Fantastic. So we're about done. Are there any final questions, either specific to law enforcement? I don't know if the IVCSD wants to do any quick update this meeting, or we can do it if we have a meeting next week with longer time. What do you guys think?
Melissa, this is Joan. Just quickly, I spoke with Lieutenant Camarina, who couldn't be here, but he just wanted me to report that there is an uptick in residential burglaries in Isla Vista. So please encourage people to lock their doors and be careful.
Thank you.
Can I ask Joan a quick question before we hop off? I'm not sure if you know the answer, Joan, but at the public health conference on the news conference on Tuesday, they mentioned pop-up testing coming to Isla Vista. Has anyone heard about when that might start?
It's still in process.
Ah, okay, but it's confirmed. They just don't know when it might come, or
it's being discussed and it's being highly encouraged. But how it would work and how it would be paid for is still being worked out. So it's not an absolute firm thing yet.
Got it. Okay, great. Thank you. That was really helpful.
Yeah, thank you for that update. I don't know, Spencer, if you want to say anything from IVCSD or if we want to punt it to another meeting. What do you think?
Anything in particular that you want to hear about, or?
I mean, I put on here a working group update, but I know that could get heady and big, so it might not be the right meeting for it. So I guess I'll say anything.
Maybe, I know we're at time. Maybe we want to, I mean, I'm happy to share if people want to hear. There's not a whole lot of new things to update, just one big thing, I guess I would say.
Say your thing, and then if people, we can put it back on the agenda for the next meeting also, maybe. We still have a good group of people.
Sure. Okay. So at our board meeting this last Tuesday, our board made the decision to reallocate the community safety fund to the community programs fund. This is in line with, I think, a lot of calls that we had seen come out of the Black Lives Matter movement to try and find alternative uses for funding that has traditionally been directed towards law enforcement, and to try and figure out how we use that funding for more holistic safety approach. And so really, that's what our goal is. The funding hadn't really been utilized over the past number of years. So on the one hand, in a way, this is sort of a symbolic statement of our values, but I still think that's important, and our community thinks that's important. And so that resolution is going to come back to our board for final approval at the next board meeting.
That's an exciting update. Thank you for sharing. I guess we'll just keep wanting to hear about that because it sounds like great progress and opportunity. And so I guess this is going to be our standing agenda pretty much moving forward. So we'll just look forward to just more ongoing updates. Just for my own clarity, how does this group feel about holding a weekly Ivcn meeting next Thursday? Because we would do, instead of regular Ivcn in 2 weeks, the community cannabis discussion, or do we feel like just not having a meeting next week and emailing updates or Facebooking updates and then moving into the cannabis discussion in 2 weeks? Temperature check, feelings?
Melissa, I would just say that I know that it has been a lot of work to keep the Ivcn meetings going, and I would just really want to respect kind of the capacity to not host another one if it's not necessary. So I think in that regard, I would favor doing reports via email, or maybe just a very brief opportunity at the previously scheduled one for any kind of urgent updates that need to happen. Just my thoughts.
I like that. Thank you. Anybody else? We feel good about that idea? Okay. So that will be the call. I'll email out reminders so everybody knows what the flow is. And then again, if you're interested in helping to structure the evening community dispensary discussion for community input, sorry, butchered that, give me an email at ilavistacommunitynetwork@gmail.com. And I did see a couple people pop that into the chat. I'll send out an email probably later today, tomorrow to get that rolling. But for now, we'll see you in 2 weeks, same time, same Zoom link, for what I'm sure will be a very interesting and inspired talk about what community merit looks like for application dispensaries for Isla Vista. Thank you, everybody, for a great meeting. Have a nice day.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Melissa.
Bye.